Now 1 o'clock, we will resume this meeting of the Texas State Board of Pharmacy, and at this time, I will turn it over to John Griffith.
All right, and we're on your agenda. This is the first one we're going to do. We're going to do two proposals for decision. The first one is H.1.1. That is for Mr. Oyenuga. So let's talk about it. Okay, on October 15, 2024, a proposal for decision was issued by an administrative law judge, or ALJ, of the State Office of Administrative Hearings in the matter of contested case of TSBP versus Kazim, Oladotun, Oyenuga. For procedural history, Mr. Oyenuga holds pharmacist license number 48288. In that case, the ALJ found by the preponderance of the evidence and issued findings of fact, conclusions of law, that Mr. Oyenuga violated the Act and the board's rules by failing to operate 3 separate pharmacies for a period of 30 days or longer, and also that he failed to report the prescription monitoring program. Following multiple informal conferences, the recommendations of those panels were for administrative penalties. And in this case, the ALJ agreed that administrative penalties were appropriate as provided for by Board Rule 281.65, recommended by the ALJ, and also recommended by staff today, is for $4,000. To remind you that Board Rule 281.60B, by the recommendation of the ALJ, and the determination of the appropriate sanction is reserved to the board itself within the scope of the Pharmacy Act and the Administrative Procedure Act. Board staff has prepared a board order that would impose a $4,000 administrative penalty for the numerous violations. And staff recommends the adoption of this order, as this disciplinary action is in the public interest and consistent with board precedent and the law.
And is Mr. Oyenuga here?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I believe he's in Pennsylvania.
So board members, you have heard the case before us. Seeing that the individual is not here, it is up to us to decide what is the pleasure of the board.
I move to go with what the order, what the staff recommended.
Okay. We have a motion from Ian. See a second from Rick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? John?
All right, our next one, which is
Let's wait till
I think, yeah.
Can we come up now or later?
Yeah, we're ready.
unless he wants to wait till 1:15.
Oh, yes.
Unless you want to wait till 1:15, that's your
No,
prerogative.
no, we're good.
Okay.
We weren't sure if you were going to say your thing first, John, or...
Well, you guys can come up. That's fine.
Thanks.
All right. And board members, we're looking at H.1.2 regarding Mr. Raju's pharmacist. Okay. On November 7th, 2024, a proposal for decision was issued by an administrative law judge, or ALJ, of the State Office of Administrative Hearings in the matter of contested case of TSBP versus Ramachandran Raju. Mr. Raju is petitioning for the reinstatement of his pharmacist license. For procedural history, Mr. Raju held pharmacist license 40669 until it was revoked pursuant to an agreed board order on July 27, 2019. In the proposal for decision before you, the ALJ provides in finding of fact number 16 that the 2019 revocation was based on allegations that Mr. Raju dispensed and shipped controlled substances to patients located in various states pursuant to prescription drug orders obtained via the internet that were not issued pursuant to a valid patient-practitioner relationship by a practitioner acting in the course of medical practice. He also shipped misbranded and mislabeled prescriptions. Mr. Raju admitted to these facts at the hearing. On February 2nd, 2021, an agreed board order was entered that would have reinstated his pharmacist license had he met the conditions of that order. But on August 2nd, 2022, a subsequent agreed board order was entered denying Mr. Raju's application for the reinstatement of his pharmacist license, and that returned his license to revoked status based on the violations of the 2021 reinstatement order. The ALJ in the current case regarding the application for reinstatement found by the preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Raju had in fact violated the Pharmacy Act and board's rules, and that Mr. Raju violated the terms of his 2021 reinstatement order. The ALJ made findings of fact that Mr. Raju reported internship hours during which he was not under the direct supervision of a supervising pharmacist, that he interned at 2 pharmacies in which his wife had an ownership interest, and that he failed to ensure a supervising pharmacist at a subsequent pharmacy was pre-approved by board staff. All of this was in violation of the terms of his 2021 reinstatement order. Now, the ALJ in this case recommended the board issue an order that would reinstate Mr. Raju's license, subject to conditions similar to his previous reinstatement order. The ALJ acknowledges accurately in the PFD that the decision to grant or deny the application is a matter at the board's complete discretion. Following an informal conference prior to the hearing at the State Office of Administrative Hearings, the recommendation of that informal conference panel was that Mr. Raju's application for reinstatement be denied at that time. As such, staff is asking today that the board exercises discretion to deny Mr. Raju's application for reinstatement at this time. Mr. Raju would be eligible to apply again for reinstatement of his pharmacist license in the future. Please remember that Board Rule 281.60B concerns the board's role in discipline and provides that in these matters the board is not bound by the recommendation of the ALJ, and the determination of the appropriate sanction is reserved solely to the board itself within the scope of the Pharmacy Act and the Administrative Procedure Act. You will find that board staff has prepared 2 board orders for entry. One order that would grant Mr. Raju's reinstatement should he meet the conditions of that order, which would include an internship and a 5-year probation to follow once the license is reinstated. The second order, which is what staff is recommending today, would simply deny the application for reinstatement at this time, consistent with the recommendation of the informal conference panel. And staff urges the entry of the second proposed board order.
All right, I believe this is your time.
Thank you, board, and this is Mr. Raju. I call him Mr. Raju. And we're very grateful to have the opportunity to address you today, fully understanding that it's the board's discretion, despite having a favorable recommendation from the ALJ. I'm hoping that you all had a chance to read the PFD thoroughly, but really what we're here to do, and Mr. Raju is here to answer any of your questions.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name's Rodney Montes. I'm his counsel. I apologize for that. We just we're here to have him answer any of your questions. As we mentioned at the ISCs at the hearing, Mr. Raju is willing to do whatever it takes to get back into the pharmacy profession that has been pretty much his whole life up until he surrendered or agreed to the revocation of his license in 2019, was it?
2019, yeah.
Board that he is able to follow the directions of basically going back as an intern so that he can practice pharmacy again. The last thing I'll say is that when I look at Mr. Raju, I look at him as somebody that's really persevered through this process, asking for reinstatement. He obviously is here to admit that he made mistakes with the reinstatement order, but he's asked for reinstatement once again after that. He went through the appeals process, and he will continue persevering and trying to prove to the board that he's ready to get back into the profession. Mr. Raju, would you like to add anything to that?
Your Honor, I was ignorant, and I'm sorry, but I'm here in front of you to ask for a chance so that I will not fail the board this time, and I will obey 110% based on the orders that you're going to give it to me.
He's been, how long have you been licensed? How long have you been a pharmacist?
22 years.
And you were trained in India as well?
Yes.
He's from Brownsville, Texas. Part of what we mentioned in the hearing was the fact that it is an underserved population. He wants to get back into the business to help others to
Serve the community.
he has a family he's supporting. He's got older children, but they're all in medical school now, apparently. It's been a hardship for him not to be able to practice this profession based on no license, but he's doing the best he can, and he's just here humbly to request an opportunity, a chance. He has a pharmacist lined up that's agreed to supervise him, somebody that he obviously doesn't have any part of his business or anything. His name's Dr. Will Casey. I believe he practices in Pharr, Texas, which is close to McAllen. But he's agreed to supervise Mr. Raju if the board is willing to give him that chance. Anything else? He can answer any of your questions.
What questions do you have for it?
And just, can I ask a question?
Yep.
What was dispensed and shipped as controlled substances and dangerous drugs? What was that? Can I ask that question, or is that? What do you,
So what have you learned from this whole process?
Follow the law and stricter supervision by the preceptors and not violate the law.
I guess my other question is, what do you feel like is different now than when you were given this opportunity before and you circumvented what was asked of you then?
I mistook the order that was given back then, and I was ignorant, and I will never fail the board again.
I can help answer the question because Mr. Raju does get a little nervous, but in speaking with him, he's obviously learned his lesson from not paying attention to the details. That's been his downfall. When the first order, he didn't have counsel, he didn't have other people guiding him through the process, and I think he was a little bit, well, he was a little cocky about knowing or thinking he knew what he needed to do. When he started the supervision, he was doing things outside of the pharmacy, but he didn't read the details about the fact that he had to be in the pharmacy with the pharmacist to have the supervision counted. I don't think that's going to be an issue now, seeing what's happened. And he certainly can count on me or his preceptor, Dr. Casey, if there's any question. So I think that's part of what the ALJ took from his testimony to issue that recommendation that he could be given another opportunity without failing the board again.
What are the next steps? If you go one or the other, say we voted to deny, is there another process after that? Is that it, or what's the next step?
If he, so your options today, the two we presented to you are to grant with conditions. It would include the internship plus the probation to follow, or to deny. Given how long his license has been revoked, I don't think there's anything that prevents him from reapplying.
Is that the question?
Well, what's the, I mean, obviously, what's the normal time for it if it would be a part, you say, what would be
It's
the
typically a year after a final determination
How did you identify Dr. Casey as a preceptor? How did y'all connect to? If you don't mind. Sure.
A doctor friend of mine recommended me to Dr. Casey, and I went to explain all the situations as to what I'm going through, and he was nice enough to come forward, and that's all.
May I say something real quick about the time frame regarding the reinstatement and how much time has passed? I mean, we've gone through this process once before, so it takes a while to get there. I think the last denial at the ISC level was over a year ago. So it would create some hardship because we'd have to wait. If we're going to have to wait a year from today to actually reapply, then we're looking at 18 months or more before we can actually get before the panel again to request basically the same thing what we're asking for now.
I don't know that you have to wait a year from today.
Oh, okay, well that's what it seemed that John was saying in
Is
the
it-
order, but I'm not sure. See, I'm not really.
Yeah.
I know you have to wait a year from when he got revoked in 2019. He would have had to wait a year after that.
So it's not the denial of the reinstatement request, it's the revocation, because I thought it was the last time.
She's looking at that.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, is the 700 internship hours our norm?
It's provided for by rule, based upon how long he's been out of practice.
Okay, so because we've had this delay, that 700 is accurate for where we are now?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so if the application is denied by the board, a subsequent application may not be considered by the board until 12 months from the date of the denial of the previous application.
So it's here.
So, yeah, today would be the.
Questions, board members?
So what are the conditions again if he was reinstated?
If you look in, if you look at what's in
The
your
grant?
Yeah, look on the grant and scroll down to order of the board.
Yeah, starting with A and B.
Yeah. So you'll see, within 2 years after the entry of the order, there's the MPJE, 45 hours of CE. And then upon completion of that, we've got 700 internship hours. And then on completion of all of that, and there's conditions on those internship hours. There's the 5 years probation with the $1,200 probation. And there's also conditions against holding direct or indirect ownership interests and serving as pharmacist. Sorry.
So do you have ownership in pharmacy still? So board, what's in front of you is stay with the original or the grant?
There are two recommendations or only one?
There are two recommendations in there.
So recommended, and that's the deny. And then the second, the denial order, that's in line with the informal conference panel, or the ALJ recommendation, which is grant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, I know those initials were. Yeah.
Administrative law judge.
Yeah. And who's, and that's the state?
That's the State Office of Administrative Hearings.
Okay.
And so like John was explaining earlier, they make a recommendation to the board, but it's ultimately up to the board to decide.
Right. Well, I'll make a motion that we go with the original recommendation from this body.
From the informal conference panel.
Yes.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? We have a second from Donnie. All those in favor of the motion before you, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. So do we have a second motion then?
My motion be to grant it based on the conditions outlined here.
I made a motion to grant.
I'll second.
There's a second from Randy. Any discussion or questions?
The reason I'm saying too is it's pretty exhaustive conditions here to do.
It's pretty long.
It's not a free pass when you're to do. You still gotta pass the law exam and some other conditions. Persuade by an opportunity.
What is our process for confirming the appropriate level of supervision and completion of the internship hours?
Our enforcement team monitors compliance with orders.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we have a second motion and a second.
A motion and a second.
We have a
yeah.
motion and a second. All those in favor of granting the conditions that are there, show of hands and aye. All those opposed? The motion does carry. So, I'm assuming, John, you'll get all of this in writing to his attorney.
Yep.
Correct.
Did it.
So, the board has given you another chance.
Yes, thank you, Honor.
The reality is, though, now it's in your court.
Thank you.
The first time you were given this chance, you did not listen to the board on what to do and how to get your license through this process. You've got to make sure that this license board has faith that you will follow these instructions and that you will provide the care that the citizens of Texas deserve.